Hey guys, and welcome back to this Java series. In the last episode, I introduced the series, and we wrote this Hello World program as well as printed it out, and then I showed you how I can pipe the output as input into other programs to get this colorful cow, which is awesome, right? That's really what I do all day in Linux, is stupid things like that. So in this episode, I'm going to go line by line and explain what's going on here. So the first thing to note is in Java, everything is a class. And we'll be going over that more later, so don't worry too much about it. But just know that everything is a class, and that's why we have this public class foo. And this also makes sense why we have this static, right? So now public is just an identifier, right? It just says we can access, anything can access this class. We have public, private, and protected. We'll go more into that when we talk about classes. Class is a keyword saying, hey, foo is a class. And obviously foo is just the name. Notice that we have these parentheses, and when I go over it, it highlights the closing parenthesis. This is used to identify blocks of code. And so when the compiler goes through, it actually looks at these parentheses and says, okay, well, this is a function. All this code needs to be kept together because this is meant to be run together. Now, again, we have this public keyword, static. Now, a static keyword, you can have static fields and methods. By the way, this is called a method or a function. It's the same thing. I think by convention, normally if it's in a class, you call it a method. So everything in Java will be a method. But if it's not in a class, then it's called a function or a subroutine or a routine or whatever. I usually just use methods and functions interchangeably, so this is our main method. So what static does is it allows us to use this method without having an instance of an object, foo, an instance of a class, foo. And that'll make a lot more sense later, so I would say just don't even worry about it. Just trust me. This keyword, void, we have different keywords, such as int, string, char, what else? There's a lot. Long, double. All of these, I spelled double wrong, but anyways, all of these just tell the compiler what type of thing am I going to be returning from this function. You don't usually return anything from the main function, so that's why it's void. Void means I'm not returning anything. You're not going to get any data back from this function or this method, whatever. We'll go more into that when we talk about functions and methods. Now, main. Every program that you ever write must have a main method with this signature. Now, signature includes this public, static, void, main, string with these things, right? Args can be anything. Args v, args whatever, args c. But anything before this args is considered the signature, the function signature. And it allows the compiler to allocate memory for things and whatnot. Don't even worry about it. But so every program you ever write will have this public static void main, and it's because when you run the Java compiler, the first thing it does is it opens this file, foo.java, and it looks for the main method. And the main method is the main entry point for the program. So it's like a start here sort of deal. So it finds this and it says, okay, this is where I'm supposed to start. And then it goes down one line. Okay, what's this? And then it executes this line, system.hello, prints this line, right? And then it'll go down to the next line and then the next one. And says, oh, okay, this is the end of the file, right? This is the main entry point. Every program you write will have this main method. Now, it doesn't have to be in every file. You could have multiple files with code in it without this main method. But whatever you want your program to start at and whatever sequence you want it to go in better be in this main method. I'm not going to go into the basic rules or anything. So now, next thing is this. System.out.println. Hello world. I'll just start with hello world. So these double quotes indicate a string, right? Obviously our string is a string of characters called HELLO space WORLD exclamation point. This LN prints a new line, which if we didn't have that, we would need \n, right? So actually, let me go ahead and do that. If we just have print, oops. Compile it again. You'll notice that it's on the same line as the rest of this, right? And so what I could do instead is have an escape character. So \n. Now there's various escape characters, and they all start with this backslash. You could have \t. Those are pretty much the only two I've ever used in my life. So let's just look at what \n does. Right, so you see we have the same thing as if we had the ln here for println. So println just adds this sort of \n, or it just, well, you know, it just enters a new line. If you want to be fancy, we could put \t here, and that stands for tab, and we'll see what it does in a second. And it just puts a little tab here. It's just a formatting thing. Not really that important, in my opinion. Right. So obviously, prints things to the standard output. Out is a sort of I guess a method of system. So system is a class. Let's just start there. System is a class, and as you'll notice, I'm running Java 9. So what I did was, and what you will do as a programmer, is you Google the documentation. So what Java does is it documents every single thing, every single little aspect of their language is documented, so that you can go to the API documentation and it has everything. So now if we go over here, we type in system java.lang.system, and we can see here our system class. It extends type object. The system class contains several useful class fields and methods. Class for standard input and output and error streams. So that's why we can use this class to print things to the standard output. I actually haven't looked at this, so I don't know if there's going to be... Wow, that failed. Here you go, out. Public static final print, out. So this is what the out's for. To output data, display, blah blah blah. Anyways, so this is what you can do if you don't ever know what anything, if you need help for a definition of what a Java function does, you go to the API documentation and you can look it up. And there's that. So that's all I really wanted to cover in this video. In the next one, we'll probably go into variables and maybe comments. Actually, let me just see how much time I have real quick. Man, I'm already almost 10 minutes. So I'll just stop here, and in the next one, we'll continue. Thanks. Have a good one.